There we go.
What up? What up?
Good
Can't find the
morning.
button.
Uh,
Nice. Morning, night. It's all relative.
it's all relative. It's high noon somewhere in the world. Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome back to episode 14, 15, 16. One of these two. Who knows?
Yeah, it's something there. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Super low 20.
yes, but we're getting up there. It's good. Progress is good. We're being pretty consistent. We missed like 1 or 2 weeks, but it's good.
It's good.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
no time doesn't look like we're gonna be slowing down anytime soon either. So we're gonna keep pumping these
Yeah.
out.
Nope.
So
Yep.
let's just jump right into it. Thomas, we were just talking about luck, networking, working your way up.
Yes. So to continue that conversation, I think the main thing that I am having as a key takeaway in regards to networking is it's really dependent on how much effort you put in.
Mhm.
Um, and it only over time creates a multiplier effect. Like usually when you're networking, 9 out of 10 times, nothing really comes out of it like immediately. It
Yeah.
generally comes like after a longer period of time, but that still means if anything, you have to put in the work today as an investment for future earnings for tomorrow.
Yeah, but it's an issue I had with always like networking was it's always seemed like very artificial, like a quid pro
Mm.
quo type of thing. Like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
like like I'll give you an example. Like I would be talking to some people in okay, we're good. Sorry. Like I will be talking to some people that I just randomly met at maybe a bar, and then I would tell them like, yeah, I'm in tech, like I work as a software engineer, yada yada, and they'll be like, oh wow, I have a degree in computer science. I've been looking for a job, and then they would start like pitching me like their resume and all of this, and it's just for me at least, I I've never been too comfortable with that, just because I've always liked to build connections more like authentically, if that makes sense. I want to actually get to know the person a little bit more. I don't want it to just be like, okay, like this person is here in this bar just because he's trying to find people to maybe get a job with. And it's it's something that I've had. It's not just with like honestly networking, it's just about socializing in general. It's like how do you get past this initial kind of vanilla, very artificial, like you have your script to now, all right, let's talk about like the good stuff. Like I want to actually get to know you a little bit more as like an actual person. Like I don't want it to just be like, me having to kind of interview you, like saying, like, oh, give me a time where you, I don't know, change somebody's life. Like it's
I
like it
don't, yeah.
like does that make sense? Like you're talking to people and then you get hit with one of those questions, and then it's like this is just so like I'm just very uncomfortable with that in networking, just socializing in general.
I think maybe it's really an interesting question because I see that as well. And truthfully, I mean, we can go about this in many different ways from different perspectives. But I think that at the end of the day, like you can't do networking like that, and expect that it would create bigger payoffs. Because at the end of the day, right? Like to me, the best networking is usually something that is sustainable or longer lasting.
Yeah.
Meaning that if you were to, I don't know, network with someone today, you cannot expect anything today. That is like planting a seed into the ground, expecting fruit on the same day. Like it
Mhm.
doesn't work that way, right? If you try to do that, then you're either going to be like eating the seed and thinking that's fruit, or a farmer is just going to look at you and be like, "What are you doing?" like you put in all this work
Yeah.
and then you just kind of destroyed all that work in one sitting. So I don't know. I think like there's a Chinese term in this. The term is just quite literally translated to relationship, but it's making guanxi, right? It's like you have to look at how to make a relationship with people in order to do networking. Networking, in a sense, is just like whether it be customer relationship building, friendship relationship building, it's always building something for the future. And it's always something that is dependent on the relationship of person to person, not your accolades, your skill levels, whatever.
All right.
That comes later because that is like maybe a baseline when there are some qualifications. But first impressions are what really matter most. If you come to a person and you're already putting an ask,
Yeah.
like it comes off as scammy already because we're trained to kind of feel like, okay, the second someone asks of something of us, we are in a higher sense of power. But at the same time, something is a little bit amiss, because why would you try to promote yourself like immediately? It almost feels insecure, right?
That's yeah. You basically just explained what I was trying to say, just in a very clear way with some Chinese metaphors. But that's exactly right. It's like it has to be more of a longer term relation. You can't just start in with the ask, because that's something that is just like it really just seems like very artificial. It seems like, okay, like I don't know this person at all. Why would I do business with them? Why would I refer them for a job? That's something that's
Yeah.
really common in my case, just because I don't have that much power. So the only thing people do network me with is just, can I have a job? Can you refer me? Yada yada. And it's always yeah, like I've never liked that. I've always liked the networking I'm actually doing now. I don't even call it like really networking. Like that's kind of like just a sour term for me. It's kind of similar to like
Yeah.
entrepreneurship. But it's like the people I'm getting close with today, and I guess networking with are people I actively work with. Like, for example, people I work with at my company, if they wanted to maybe, I don't know, like 5, 10 years down the line, if they have another company, and I can like definitely reach out maybe and be like, hey, like I see you doing this and this. Can we get dinner? Let's catch up a little bit. That's something that feels more natural to me, because I'm already fairly like I have a good relationship with some of them at work right now, like some people. So that's like more like, we worked so long together. It's not just me coming up to you immediately and asking for something. It's going to be me cultivating this process, the seed, and then hopefully 5, 10 years, because that's how long it takes sometimes for you to actually like get something out of like a connection, I guess. Which once again, I'm a little bit, I don't really like those
I
terms.
doubt that, but yeah, I'll go into that like after you wait. I'm listening to what you're saying. Yes.
But it should always be just like don't look for. I'm trying to look at it as networking isn't for trying to get something out of somebody else. It's more so like just try to focus on building a relationship with somebody. That's it. And if something does come from that, it comes from it later down the line. But focus on the relationship more.
So I think that that's actually like for me, definitely like, how do I say this? It's part of the process. It's hard because the one thing that I'm just trying to like think about when I'm trying to break down this whole system is I don't know if it really starts with like relationships. I say it is like that is the core of what networking is, but perhaps the starting basis is like the impressions that you leave upon others, or I guess the charisma, the rizz that you
The
give to
rizz,
others,
the network,
right? Like
the rizz.
like I want to go back to like even a microcosm. I know this is not like the greatest of examples, but like I'm sure it's not like uncommon fact, or maybe we haven't talked about this on the podcast yet, but I came to like Coop site after you and George, right? Like you guys were already working on a project. It might have not been like full on Coop site by then, but it was already kind of like, okay, I'm thinking about building something like this. And then you kind of came to me and you're like, okay, there's this guy that we know, and he's like, trying to do this thing, and I'm interested. And would you be interested? And I honestly, I remember the first time I was like, okay, show me results and then I'll like think about it. I remember that. But like the whole thing is like, you look at it from a two-step direction. You guys probably came to me because impression wise, amongst like the freshman people, I was probably what you were looking for maybe a guy on operations and analytics, right? And at the same time, what I'm looking for you guys is, can you deliver? That's why we didn't like just go straight ahead, right? So we were already like building a relationship. It wasn't really like, oh, buddy, buddy, or whatever, but it was built on like impressions first, which then morphed into, okay, now I trust you guys for my life after like so many years, right? Of working together. But I think there's like, a sense of like you have to be appearing open, um because I think there certainly were other people that are probably even more qualified than I was to even join Coop site, but you guys didn't approach them. And so you have to like think about it that way too. Like what comes as top of mind, it's really important to make a lasting impression.
But we knew you. That's what I was gonna say too. When you said like you may have we brought you on for analytics, operations. It's not like that you were the best in NYU Shanghai, because we have no idea. You might have been. You
Yeah,
probably
we were freshmen. Like what the hell, right? Like none of us know anything.
But all it
Yeah.
was we knew you. We knew you could get the job done. Or I mean,
Mhm.
we haven't worked together, but we trusted you could. But it was
Yeah.
more important that we just knew you. Like, like if I
Yeah.
know, for example, like if I'm trying to build a team right now and I need some software engineers, I'm gonna go back and see all the people I've talked with that I've worked with that were
Mm.
in tech that can do the job. They may not be the best people for the job, but I know I have that relationship with them already. So we're gonna naturally work better together as a team. There isn't gonna be that many unknowns. There will still be, of course, but it's just I think networking isn't always about who is the best person for this job. It's more so who's the best person for this job that I know. Because I think you could, like, if me and George really wanted to, we could have just asked literally everyone in Shanghai trying to find the best operation and analytics person. And it's actually very interesting why we didn't do that, right?
Yeah, I think it's a bias, but it's like, that's just human bias. It's like, what do you build trust with? You build trust with what you know. Otherwise, it's too foreign and you wouldn't want to accept it. That's also like a lesson inside of product development too, right? It's like you can't make something completely different without some lead in or some copywriting or some explanation to people on why like this is different but better. People need to like gravitate towards like, okay, I understand this process and this is either better or like there's something in the ground, whatever you're trying to do, right?
Yeah.
So same thing goes for people. We look at people as startups. Everyone is a startup in a sense. And if you look at it from like building a trust factor of like, okay, where can I put my trust in, which is the dollars, I guess, right? In this relationship, like what would actually be good in actually, somebody that I can depend on. So in a sense, I don't know, maybe when you like promote like your accolades, your resume to somebody, that would not be my strategy to network. My strategy would just generally like want to really listen in on what this person is like interested in. So like let's say I didn't know you, Errol, and you were doing a lease. I'll like ask everything about lease because I'll be like, yo, I'm super into real estate. Like I don't really know too much about it, but I definitely like see how it could be important. Like that's weirdly enough a better lead in than like, hey, Errol, like you do CS? Oh, I have a freaking resume. You know what I mean? Because it's like so off kilter. It's not even like about having a discussion.
Yeah. I've okay, how do I say this? I've not at my company really, but I've seen many times where people would apply for jobs and they wouldn't even know what the company does. I've seen that
Yeah,
quite often. And
it's a
I've
spray
always
and pray.
it's just yeah, and it's like people just kind of wing it. And to be fair, like I understand because especially in this job market, people are just trying to apply to as many jobs as possible, and that's totally reasonable.
Yeah.
But it's just I mean, I don't know. Like I never understood that either. I liked what you said in terms of like asking about Elise, asking about what we do, and then maybe down the line being like, hey, even just texting me later, just be like, hey, I was thinking more about it. I checked out you guys' website. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Hey, it's like this might be a lot to ask, but can you just maybe take a look at my resume? I would really be interested in maybe joining guys if you have a position and if you think I'm qualified. And I'll probably and that is so much better than just being like,
It's
hey,
cleaner. It's much more professional too, in a way,
yeah,
you
and
know?
or just like immediately coming up to me, you can like be like, hey, like, are you guys hiring? Can you give me a job?
Yeah, that's
Like,
that's just like childish. I don't think it works that way. Like I would just say no. Like it doesn't even matter if you're qualified. I would just kind of say no because like if your EQ is that low, then it doesn't like inspire confidence that like I think businesses at the end of the day, even if you're a programmer, is still a people person operation. If
yeah,
you can't even like find a way to like make yourself having a lasting impression, I want
yeah,
my team to be full of A member people. I don't want B players. I
yeah,
want people that like can handle themselves. And sure, you don't have to be perfect. I'm just trying to say like you have to at least have a minimum IQ or sorry EQ to like recognize that that wouldn't be acceptable. Like I don't think people that go and ask for things like recognize that they seem a little bit helpless. And the thing is, it's not even like some of these people would be helpless. Some of these people are probably like way smarter than I am, right? But you have to like put your shoes. Sorry, you have to put yourself in someone else's shoes, not put your shoes, right? Like put yourself in the hirer's shoes and like really think about what they're thinking about, which is how would we as hirers or owners want to hire people, and like, what are we looking for? We're trying to look for people that would be really working well with the team, know how to deal with people, right? Know how to get not only things done from a tech point of view, but also how to deal with people.
Yeah.
It's like almost a first step. Networking is based on people that can create that sort of impression, because you have to leave that impression to your team as well. It just extends further.
Hmm. Yes, that's an excellent point. I think I'm just trying to like think back as to like how often people are just so, I don't want to say desperate, but how they're so direct with it. And that's always what I've seen. I think it was because, we were in college, we just graduated. And that's why, because I feel like college level, entry level positions, it's just filled with a lot of desperate people. And a lot of people just don't know how to network and so forth. But I love working with people that aren't direct, but understand that relationships are more important than just, I guess, maybe speed and efficiency. And that's why, like, I really would, if I just met somebody that said, "Hey, I'm building a company, I want you to work for me, yada yada," and then I'm saying yada yada a lot, and I still don't even, okay. Anyway,
It's fine.
but it's, if somebody just came up to me and started talking to me in a bar and said, like, I'm building a startup, I know you do tech, do you want to maybe like join our team, after like we just initially met, that's kind of like, nah, not really, that it's not for me because I don't know you. But on the
Yeah.
other hand, Thomas, if you're like, hey, I'm building a company, we just raised a Series A or whatever, and you ask me, you're like, hey, you want to join? I'll be like, absolutely. Well, obviously, like, no, absolutely. But, like,
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Yeah.
because we already have that relationship, and that's what
Right.
I'm pivoting from, where initially, like even like 3 months ago, it was more so like I need to network because I want to get something out of these people. But now it's more so like I genuinely just want to build a relationship with these people, not because I'm gonna get something out of it, but because they're pretty
Yeah.
fucking cool. And that
Right. It kind of
I think
elevates you
that's one.
too to think differently. I think there's certainly like some banter that if you guys develop, I mean, George is not attending this meeting right now because he's spending his time finishing up a demo, like finishing up an MVP, right?
Yeah.
From what I'm understanding. That kind of one inspires me to go develop faster, right? Because it's like the dude is hardworking here. And I just like all of his success kind of bleeds through to want to inspire me to do more. And I hope to like, do the same thing.
Yeah.
But it's really important to like recognize that people are very impressionable, especially people that like you want to appease. You have to make them impressed, right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, like I don't want to like this might be a little bit off tangent. Like this is not even about the podcast era. Like, so I don't know if you remember in Coopsite how we used to have like this person that kind of came in for like a week or maybe in like a couple of weeks as like marketing expert, like a marketing advisor. Her name was Christina. Do you
Oh
remember
yeah.
her?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so we used to be like pretty close, and now I'm not really sure anymore. But like this is after Coop site, and I was like just starting Tilted, but I was already very like unconfident with how to go about not only building a team, but like go about building a product, right? And then I think I confided in her, and she was kind of like, if you're this unconfident, even if you think the idea is good, but you act this way, how can you expect people to work for you? Like
Oh.
yeah, like it literally was like that. And I'm like, I kind of think about it now in hindsight, because this is like probably the last imparting lesson that she really gave to me, especially since she's very like she is a network guru. I don't know if you like are recognizing that. Like
I
she,
know.
she's she I don't even go into the background. She just has a lot of experience with how to network. And I think, she kind of just laid it down there. She gave me that like lasting impression that it goes two ways. If you're an owner, you have to like seem like such a strong leader that people would want to follow you. That's literally what makes leaders good leaders, right? You look at it all. Okay, you can look at all the top leaders that have created lasting impressions in history, um, or at least in like good, actually instrumental. Okay, this is getting like really finicky because I'm thinking of like really terrible like dictators as well, inclusive of this group. But if you look at anybody that mobilizes and makes a big impact, it's because everybody else recognizes that person is not only going to get it done, but inspires people to want to get that done, right?
Hmm.
So like that's really important. But that's people to owner. And then for owner to people, owner has to expect that there's some level of not only what you can get done as a person underneath the leadership, but what sort of impression do you give? Do you seem like someone that is a confidant, like someone that I can trust into, think about things? Or do I just kind of taskmaster you? Because if I'm doing that, then I look at you as a robot, and now that we have Chat GPT, you're now going to be replaced.
Yeah, but you have to be careful with that too, because that is like there are a lot of tasks that I think owners or CEOs or whatnot they give to their employees, to the workers, that I mean it can range from specifically do this and do it this way to more so this is the problem. You have to build something that does this and this and this. I don't give a fuck how you do it, just get it done.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
but that's not what you mean, right? You mean more like specifically like
No, I'm
this.
saying there's an attitude towards like owners expect some things, and then people that work under owners have to also expect certain things. Owners, or at least people that hire, I think at the end of the day, like there's autonomy in how you do that. That's a whole team culture thing. What I'm trying to get at is like the impression that you have to have in order to reach what an owner is expecting is that like you are confident in getting things done, right? Like you have to have confidence in also that ability too. And you have to also show how you would be very suited to getting any of these things done. It could be, talking to people. It could be being very charismatic. I look at it as, again, multiplier. Networking is a multiplier. It's a skill set and a multiplier. If you have a one team member that is good at networking and he goes and branches out, then 10 people by theory inside your organization that are really good at networking will do 10x work than one person, right? So you get to spread out even more. People get to know what your thing is about even more. That's really important. If you have one person that only like, I don't know, sleeps in a basement and doesn't like talk to anyone, you're like limiting potential here.
Right. You shouldn't always strive for just perfection though. Like I understand like you want like A players, but it's very, especially in tech, there's not too many people that are super charismatic, super good at networking, that are also very strong in software. It's very
I don't think I'm talking about jobs that are just in network, like just in CS. I'm saying in
yeah,
general,
I know.
anyone for any
But
job. Yeah.
but I'm using like CS as an example in terms of like it's very rare to find somebody who is amazing at their job and also the more human. I don't really know how to say it, like the social aspect, not just the business side. Whatever the job is, they can be really good at it, but to also be very good in the social, in terms of like networking, in terms of like making meaningful, genuine connections. Those are always. It's very difficult to find people who are A plus in both of those.
I think again, I don't expect perfection. When I say A players, I expect, okay, to me, the way I measure A plus is like the ability to adapt. If, especially in a startup, like if you're depending on people that like are only, seen as static, like, you have an 80-year-old that doesn't learn anything, but is really good at what he does. Um, at least in the beginning startup, that's not really the desired type of person you want to have. You want to have people that are going to grow alongside you and learn how to become even like much more than what they are right now, right? um I think that's really important to recognize. So if you're saying that people like, they're not, if you're a programmer and you're not that good at networking, I think there's a baseline at least to be met here, right? And I think it would be really such a shame to box, like if you're a programmer, to box yourself into a corner and kind of fulfill that nerdy, can't talk to people sort of image, because I truthfully think we're past that, right? People are people. Coding is just a skill. If you think you are like exempt from the fact of being a human, which is to talk to people, we're literally social animals, and you can just stick behind a computer and not talk to anyone, then I'm sorry, like I don't see any employer wanting to have you over the next person that is willing to even try to like branch out of their shell and learn how to talk to people. You build products for people. If you can't even think how they talk, like they think, because you can't talk to them, it's like broken. I don't expect every programmer to talk to people like customers, but they can at least like digest easier. If you're like somewhat not able to do that,
Right.
it's going to hamper like your opportunities compared to someone who can. That's just what it comes down to.
That's true. And it's not just customers too. It's like you have to be a little bit, I keep using the word extroverted, but you have to know how to like talk to people as a programmer. Once again, just using it as an example, just in terms of like product development, not just customer side, but you have to be able to actually talk with your team. You have to be able to actually be open. You have to actually be able to say, to give your opinions on things. And that's something that I think a few people in, once again, just using tech as an example, people are just like, I'm just going to do the work. I'm not going to say anything in any meetings ever. If we have a one,
Yeah,
I'm just gonna just
for
nod my
sure.
head and be like, okay, 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 okay. Or I won't even say anything, even better yet, right?
Yeah,
So
and for Coop's sake, we had such frustrations with that. I don't know why people don't understand that that is the most frustrating thing for people like leaders when they
yeah,
just are the only ones talking. Like I'm sure that most leaders, except that unless they're dictators, I hate that. I absolutely hate it when it's just silent. I'm the only one talking. If it's
yeah.
not a discussion, what was the point of the meeting? At least for me.
How I will say this though, you have to be careful because if we have a lot of meetings and if the meetings aren't actually too impactful or important, or a lot of people who don't feel
Cut
like
them.
doing anything,
Don't have them.
that's what I'm saying. It's also the responsibility of the owner or whoever's like running the show to also say, okay, we actually don't need this meeting. Because that could be why no one's talking, is because no one's finding this interesting. No one feels like they need to be here. That's a very strong statement. Like it's like just think about it in college classes, right? If you go to a
Yeah.
class where it's completely fucking boring, you fucking hate this shit, you don't feel like you're learning anything. I'm not saying shit. I don't know about you, but I'm keeping quiet. I don't care about this. I want to leave. But if
I
it's
think the difference is that that is a closed system. If you're in school, you know how to get an A. You can literally not go to class like Jijo and he still gets an A because he just reads the textbook, right? When you're doing a startup, everything is subject to like it's going to kill you. You don't think about this, it's going to kill you. You don't think about that, your company doesn't exist for tomorrow.
right,
So,
but you can only
you
do that in
know,
really good settings where it's like people feel like it's actually very impactful. People feel like they need to be
then
there.
it comes back to then you need people that are like again those people who are easily adaptable and want to work with people in the right ways, right? So like
It's
I
both
think if you
sides.
build a team with people that don't talk, then that's indicative of your leadership. Yeah,
That is true. And that's also just based on culture too. Like, do you want to have a culture of just everyone who works their asses off but no one says anything? It's like,
there's some of that. I mean, I'm not going to say that that's terrible. It's just like you got to know how to build a team culture, and it's not like one size solution.
right.
But that's another conversation for another day. I think that at the end of the day, just making a good impression is the first step to doing good networking. That's like the outcome that I see.
Yeah. And build good relationships. But
Yeah.
that's it. We're running out of time. We don't want to take any more, valuable time from anyone out here who's grinding hard. So I guess until next week then.
All right. Yeah. See you, man. We'll
See
talk
you.
next week.
Yep, nice shot.
Yeah.
See you.
All right. See you. Bye.